And good morning, and welcome to the Profiles and Perspectives with Darswell Rogers. I'm, of course, your host, Darswell Rogers, and I've got a special program for us today. I've got I've got some of the members who are involved in the International Black Summit, which is coming up August 3rd to 6th. I got Mr. Jonn Thomas, Ms. Petal Gowie, and Mr. Orrin Saunders is going to join us at some point this morning. He's just getting himself in place. And Jonn and Petal, welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so let's kick this off, Jonn. And by the way, for those folks who are listening locally, Jonn is a longtime Spring Lake resident. His mom was at one point mayor of Spring Lake. So why don't we, Jonn, ask you to go ahead and explain to the audience what exactly is the International Black Summit and its purpose, its goals, that sort of stuff.
All right, so we're going to probably be delving into this a little deeper as we go through the episode today, but I'll start with the International Black Summit is, you could say, our purpose is to provide an opportunity for participants to bring into being their vision for the Black community in the world. And so we offer transformational education that supports people in being who they are, if you will, particularly people of Black African descent. And even though we're in operations all year, once a year, somewhere in the world, we have an event. And we call that our annual summit event. This year, that event is in Buffalo, New York, Antigua, West Indies, and virtually. So we're going to have one event in 3 locations, virtually 2 physical locations. It's the first time we've done it like this. And imagine, if you will, a room full of people. So we're thinking a little over 300 people spread out across the different platforms, all engaged in their vision for the Black community in the world, wherever they are in that journey. And so we have work that we do with people. We work on tools and distinctions, which we'll share a little bit more about later. And as we do that, each person is on their own personal journey. So the first International Black Summit was in 1991. It was in August. It was in October of 1991. And every year, somewhere in the world, we do or have an annual event. This year, I told you, it's in Buffalo, Antigua, and virtual. Last year, it was virtual. The year before, it was supposed to be in Detroit because of COVID. It was virtual. The year before that, it was virtual. It was in Ghana. It's been in Belize. I mean, this is just like the last 10 years. We've been somewhere else in the world having this conversation. I think, is that enough to kind of set it up?
No, absolutely. Petal, do you want to add to just that general perspective? And kind of how did you get involved? I would also add that, what attracted you to the International Black Summit?
Yeah, well, my first participation in the International Black Summit was in 1994. And some friends who participated in another work, who they had a conversation with me about this wonderful space called the International Black Summit, where people of Black African descent come together and listen for their vision through the vision of the International Black Summit, which is our declaration, the Declaration of the International Black Summit, where as people listen, they begin to hear their vision, begin to get a sense of their vision and begin to bring that out. So once I participated in New Orleans, that was my first summit in New Orleans in 1994. I did not attend the 95, but I went to Kenya in 96 And in 96 is where I became a facilitator of the International Black Summit. And that was really, that particular summit was a very powerful summit. That was our first time out on, that was our first time on the continent. And it was just wonderful being there and seeing ourselves, like me being able to see me through other people in Kenya, you know, like seeing, I'm from Jamaica and saying, oh my God, this is Jamaica. You know, it's like that.
Yeah, I think you're saying that although you're in Kenya, that kinship, the Jamaican Kenyan connection was clear in terms of what you were experiencing.
Yeah, it really, what it was is the Black connection, no matter where we are around the world. You know, there's us, we're there. And the reflection of us throughout the diaspora showed up for me in Kenya and in South Africa, where we see everything that we are, our dancing, our music, everything that we express as a people outside of the outside of the continent. It's right, you know, that's where it came from. You know, that's where we came from.
Oren, you're muted, so I want to alert you to that. But go ahead and share a little bit about how you got involved in the summit and kind of what it means from your perspective.
Yeah, I got involved in the summit in 1991. A letter, we'd gotten an invitation through another organization, landmark organizations, asking graduates to meet in Atlanta. And the letter stated, nothing less than death in your body should prevent you from being here. And this meeting is like the convening of the founding fathers. So I read it and I was like, oh, and the other part it said was that, and you must be here. To be here, you must be of Black African descent. They didn't just say Black, they said, but must be Black. So I was like, whoa, who are these folks? So with not knowing any idea what it was about, and just going from that invitation, but it was such a powerful letter. It was such a powerful space that got created inside of that letter that I was like, oh no, I'm not missing this. And I and another friend jumped on the plane and we went to Atlanta. That was in 1991. That was the first gathering nationally, how can I put it? Because people were speaking on the phone prior to that. But that was the first physical, that's what I should say. That was the first physical coming together of everyone from different parts of the country and the world. So the people from Trinidad, Guyana, I was from Guyana. There were people from Kenya. That's how we got to be in Kenya, because that person stood for Kenya that year and things like that. So that was how my introduction was to the summit. And why I'm here is like most of what Petal and John said. It's been such a powerful space for me, and the distinctions that I've gotten. One of the things that we do in the summit, we create a set of tools that we call distinctions, and these are tools that we created through putting our lives on the microscope. So the summit distinctions come out of each and every participant in the summit who has allowed them like really do the work and see what life is calling for, what our community is calling for. So we created these tools, and there's several of them, and they're always evolving. They're not stagnant. You know, they're always another space. As you do transformation, you know, you see things differently, moment to moment. So those distinctions, one of the things that I must say has been beneficial to me, it has supported me considerably in creating my business and standing in my business for the last 30 years. So
We're having a conversation about the International Black Summit. It's coming up August 3rd through the 6th. It's going to be in Buffalo, New York, Antigua, West Indies, and also virtually online. I've got Mr. Jonn Thomas, Peto Gowie, and Orrin Saunders on. So you've got this program coming up. Give folks a sense of the preparation, and so what's the program going to be if somebody were to opt to attend the summit? What are they likely to experience?
Okay, so let's see, how do we want to answer that? So I didn't tell you my first summit was in New Orleans as well in 1994. And you know, so you can imagine I get down to New Orleans and there is a group of Black people from all over the world. Now, I grew up here in Fayetteville, and I just want to be real straight. I only knew one kind of Black people. That was the ones here in Fayetteville, right? For those of you who are local, I went to Pine Forest, right? And so I've heard of other Black folks, but I never got a chance to engage them. So when I went to New Orleans, I walk into this room, it's Friday morning, and I'm all ready to sit down in my chair and have my seminar. This is answering your question, Darswell.
Okay.
I'm expecting the speaker to come out and welcome me, and we're going to get down to the business of why I'm there, of transforming some aspect of my life. No, not what I saw. Instead, what I saw was for those of you who can't see me, I'm dancing because they was doing a second line at 9 o'clock in the morning of the Friday of the International Black Summit. So one of the things that this work does, it includes everything. So it included the spirit of New Orleans. It included our natural energy to dance and music, right? As a part of the experience of being together. And what happens for folks is we'll start this dialogue. So there's no speaker. There's no somebody with 15 degrees behind their knee coming to teach us something. There's a group of people called facilitators. And at that time, in 1994, there was 5 main facilitators, and we engaged in a conversation about life, if you will. But we're not having a conversation about what should I say to my husband because he's getting on my nerves. That's not the conversation we have. We have a conversation about what's going on, if you will, and we begin to distinguish these tools that you can use to support whatever it is you're up to. Bless you. And so for 3 days, it's like having, I'm gonna say it this way, but I don't want you to take it this way. If you have any experience of a Tony Robbins kind of event, it's like that kind of work. It's very introspective. Bless you again. It's very over here in your seat. So while I was in New Orleans, meeting all of these, what I call new types of Black people, I noticed one of the conversations we didn't have was what they, y'all know who they is, what they was doing to suppress us. All of the conversations were about what's your vision? What are you up to? What's in your way? What's stopping you? Where are you stuck? How far have you gone? What kind of support do you need? What tools can you use to forward what you're up to in the world? And you begin to discover there are other people who are like up to the same thing. And so one of the tools that we use is a distinction called trigger. You've heard the word trigger before, but we use it a particular kind of way. And when something triggers you, you know, like when you get upset, you could say that's a trigger. Sometimes a trigger is something that catches your attention, but the way we use it is when you get triggered by something, you go on to automatic pilot. Like it's got you that hooked that you go on to automatic pilot. And we say it's something that you're unable or unwilling to be with. And so as we begin to dig down into that thing, I discovered or would discover something about myself. So one of my triggers was I was at a cookout. Landlord was there. I'm enjoying myself at the cookout. I'm going back for my second plate of ribs, chicken, potato salad, green beans, like that. And I mentioned to the landlord, the hall bathroom is not working. Do you want us to fix it? Or do you want to take care of it? And she stops and she says, that's it. That's it. I'm giving you a 30-day lease effective immediately. Now I'm thinking, I just asked about the bathroom. That triggered something for her, and me now finding out I got 30 days to move triggered something for me. Right? So automatically, I go to want to make her wrong for, well, what we do, I did everything right. I pay my rent on time. We keep the property nice. We keep it clean. We treat it like homeowners. What did I do wrong here? That's part of my automatic. What did I do wrong? I must have done something wrong here. And so in the International Black Summit, they helped me kind of sort through that, work through that, and get at what the gift is.
So let me ask you a question, because you mentioned you've got 5 facilitators. We're having a conversation with Jonn Thomas, Oren Saunders, and Petal Galley about the International Black Summit, which is coming up August 3rd through the 6th. So you mentioned the 5 facilitators. Is everybody together the whole time, or are there breakouts? I mean, I'm trying to put some context of what the experience would be for somebody.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit about that, then Oren and Petal can jump in. So we now have 20-something facilitators. I think there's 23 of us. But back then there was 5. They put us in groups of 5, right? And then we're engaging in different conversations. We're engaging in different activities in our groups.
And the group is defining what it wants to talk about.
Well, the group, with Petal, Oren, and what you guys want to say on that particular piece?
Yeah. You want to go, Petal?
Well, inside of the space of the International Black Summit, as we're together, we begin to speak. People begin to talk about, what's going on in their lives. People come up to the mic, they speak, the facilitators interact with them. They listen for what it is that that's really being said. They listen the whole person, not just what's coming out of their mouths. And when at some point, we put people in groups so that they can begin to deepen the conversation and begin to see more for themselves. And the group acts as a support for one another. So they're developing their ability to listen beyond what they normally listen and how they normally listen. And they hear things and they're able to interact with each other. There's a point where they become so facile, that they actually are facilitating. They're facilitating. So for the weekend, when we call people to the mic after they've interacted with each other in their group, people start talking about the things that they've experienced as a result of being in their group. They start sharing. They start encouraging each other to go up to the mic and share what was revealed for them. The facilitators there, we're listening. And if there's something for us to say, we'll say. If there's something for us to say that will actually forward the conversation in the room, meaning bring it out, have it become bigger than what it is in that moment, where people can begin to see something beyond what they were seeing prior to expanding it. We then give people an opportunity to really be able to say what there is for them, like really what there is for them. Like Jonn spoke of his trigger. He's not left in that trigger because he's having an opportunity to see everything that transpired within himself. And then he's able to see where he was responsible for something, where he actually can have some freedom and even to move on without there being any problem between him and his landlord, where there's the possibility of having a relationship with that person where there seemed to be no relationship, no relatedness, such that if my vision is to establish nurturing relationships, well, yeah, I don't want to leave a place where there is some issue between us.
So let me stop because we're coming up here on the bottom of the hour and I want to take a commercial break here. We're having a conversation about the International Black Summit. It's coming up August 3rd through the 6th. It's going to be in Antigua, West Indies. It's going to be in Buffalo, New York, and also online. I'm talking to Mr. Jonn Thomas, Petal Gowie, and Mr. Oren Saunders. We're going to take this break here at the bottom of the hour. When I come back, I want to make sure that people know how, if they're interested, with the website, those sorts of things, as well as I want you guys to help me to kind of get the essence of, if I were to attend this event, what happens to me? It sounds very transformational, but I kind of want you to help folks to better appreciate what will play out there. So we'll be back. You're listening to Profiles and Perspectives with Darswell Rogers. And welcome back to Profiles and Perspectives. I'm your host, Darswell Rogers. We're here today having a conversation about the International Black Summit. It's coming up August 3rd through 6th, and it's going to be in Buffalo, New York. It's going to be in Antigua, West Indies, and it's also going to be live on Zoom. I've got 3 avid participants of the summit, Mr. Jonn Thomas, Ms. Petal Gowie, and Mr. Oren Saunders. And I want you guys to kind of continue, and I guess we did a little planning during the break here on how you all kind of want to frame this out. And I think, Oren, we're going to kick this off with you kind of explaining some of the foundational principles, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you for that as well. As I said earlier in the program, that I got an invitation to be in Atlanta in 1991. And this invitation came from people in Chicago, people from all over the country created that invitation. And from the invitation, that's how I got there in the summit in 1991 in Atlanta. But prior to my getting there, this conversation was engaged for several months or even probably a year before we actually met in Atlanta. And it came about where we were two women, one Miss Aloma
Okay.
Marquise, and was it
Pat Reed Porter.
Pat Reporter. So they were at another conference, and they started to speak of what they can see that would make a difference for the Black community and the world. And particularly at that time, I don't know if they were talking just about the world, they were talking about the Black community. They wanted to see something happen that was a little different from what's going on in our communities. So they called some other people, which included some of the senior, what we call the original facilitators, and they engage in this conversation. And it came to a point where there was the interest and the passion that came up in the conversation. They decided to meet up because they were on the phones for so many hours and for so many different callers from all over the country.
Hey, Owen, I'm just going to cut you off because I've got to, if you can kind of cut to the kind of what was the element, because we're 2 minutes into the thing and we,
Yeah, okay. So that was originally, it started with these two ladies having a conversation, calling everybody to get engaged, and we ended up in Atlanta. And in Atlanta, well, like 121 people showed up, and people came from all walks of life, professions and whatnot. And they started to give their vision that they want to see something happen for the Black community. And out of their visions, that's how the declaration came out.
Okay. So what is the declaration?
Pedro?
So the Declaration of the International Black Summit is the vision of the International Black Summit. It is what we do our work out of. We say that we all have a vision in life that's given to us by life. And sometimes we don't know what that vision is, but we know there's something there that's calling us. And this gives us an opportunity to begin to listen for that. So I want to share the declaration with all of us here, with your listening audience. And what I'm going to ask us to do is to listen for yourself inside of the declaration. Listen for what lights you up and turns you on inside of that sparks something in you, and see where you wrote that piece so that you can come and meet that and expand on that. So the Declaration of the International Black Summit, we declare ourselves, our community, and all communities whole and complete. There is nothing to do except be. We assert that we are responsible for generating community as possibility and distinction. We listen for and grant being to the possibility and creation of unpredictable results. Our conversation of, about, and for those of African descent is one of power, self-generation, abundance, responsibility, unity, and integrity with the possibility of being. We stand for the expression of our spirituality, ending the murders of our men, women, and children, building economies responsible for funding our community, maintaining wellness of being in our bodies, providing human services, establishing nurturing relationships, altering the conversation of who we are in the media, empowering our youth. We declare that our community manifests itself in the world as a contribution to the transformation of the universe. And this was created, was given to us on October 7th, 1991. And
Powerful. And what I love about it is it's all about us. It's not about anybody other than us.
Exactly.
exactly.
We are complete. We have the capacity to solve whatever problems and challenges that exist within our community, period, full stop.
Period, full stop. So you asked Darswell, well, what would I get? What should I expect? So one question we might ask is, of what you can remember of the Declaration, what part of it would you say you wrote?
Self-determination. That we have the internal capacity to solve our problems. That's what resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
Stop looking outside. It's all about what we've got. There's nothing that we lack, nothing, zero, that we lack in terms of ability to transform ourselves into what we want to be.
Yes, like that piece, our conversation about and those of African descent is one of power, self-generation, abundance, responsibility, unity, and integrity.
Right.
Would be a part that you may have written about
Yes.
it.
I could, yes.
And so then we would then look at what's an area of your life where that's firing for you, that's on point for you, right? That's working for you. And then we might ask, what's an area that's not,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as you engage in that, you begin to see things you hadn't seen before. And the only reason I'm telling you about it instead of doing it is because of the time. But if you could real quickly, let's just look at an area
Sure.
where your conversation of, about, and for those of African descent is not one of power.
So, it's, I mean, those who listen to this radio program will know that I spend a fair amount of time suggesting that we have the capacity to leapfrog and accomplish anything that we choose to. So I do this radio program and I bring in a bunch of different profiles and perspectives to this program of people who are doing things that are unique. And so the voice that I bring to this program is part of how I'm attempting to manifest that reality. It's because it's simply the mental capacity to change. If you decide this is my current plight in the world, or this is the current place I reside in the world, and I want to be in a different place, then the question is, okay, mentally, how am I going to change my old habits, my old behaviors to manifest that new reality? And so then I'll use the by any means necessary concept within the confines of what's legal to make that transformation. And so that's something that I've applied. I probably uncovered these ideas probably around the age of 18 when I was a freshman at Howard University, and I on and off apply them to my life and use it in my consulting practice when regardless of who I'm doing it with, to say, listen, you can transform. This notion that I'm just who I am, this is just who I am, is a ridiculous notion. You are not just who you are. You are who you choose to be. And if you choose to be somebody different, you can be different. Oh, that trigger, you talk about the trigger. You don't have to keep that trigger. That's not a trigger. There's somebody I talk to. I always talk loud. No, you don't always talk loud. You don't have to. I've always talked, but you don't have to be a loud talker if you choose not to be a loud talker. You don't have to get nasty and mean when somebody says something if you don't want to, and not unless you've got some sort of true mental deficiency. And so, that would be an example of, I think, on the positive side of that,
Yep.
of that dynamic, right?
Yep.
And so people get tired of me saying that to them.
So that's part of the flip side of it, right? That you got this vision, you can see something for the Black community. You can see something in yourself and for us and for others. And then you're sharing that, you're pontificating about it. You got a talk show, for God's sake, where you talk about it. And like you said, people may get tired. So on the flip side, there's might be some things to discover
Mhm.
that would have your message be a lot more receptive.
Yep.
And your vision be a lot more expansive. So just in speculating, what would you say that is?
Well, that's an evolving question, because the reality is that, from I guess I'm going to take a step backwards before I go forward, right? So I've been in North Carolina since 2007. And when I got here, what I found is that the way that I communicated can be offensive to some people. Jonn, you and I have pointed out scenarios whereby my choice of words and languages can be how it can come across as being condescending, right? Never my intention, but that is how some people hear me. And so what I tend to do in terms of my development of a more effective way of communicating is to try and read where the person is coming from as I'm talking. And I tend to do something that's probably not super effective. I'll tend to say, listen, I can be self-deprecating, I think, sometimes. I say, listen, I don't have the answers here, but I'm just trying to say this in a way that hopefully, people can get it or hear it, right? And so that's my attempt, because I have not figured out how to literally always change the words I'm using or the vocal tone that people hear, but to at least let them know that whatever they hear that may not resonate with them, that's not ill intent. It's I'm trying to diffuse the notion that I think I'm better than anybody, even though my family gave me the gift of a good vocabulary.
All right, great. So when I asked you that question directly, it may or may not happen like that. So you might be sitting in your seat, someone else is sharing, they're having a similar conversation, they might be committed to the same thing that you are, they're engaging with one of the facilitators, and then you see something that you like our conversation about condescending.
Right.
You cannot not have that in your mind now.
Right.
Right. Is now has been is a part of your way of being, to be conscious of being that way. So, so it's not about not being that way, but more about being aware when you are, so you can speak to it.
I call these a series of aha moments, right?
Exactly.
And what I'm hearing you all say, and we're talking to Mr. Jonn Thomas, Oren Saunders, and Petal Gowie. We're talking about the International Black Summit, which is coming up August 3rd through the 6th. It's going to be in Antigua, West Indies, Buffalo, New York, and also online, so anyone can participate. What I hear you all saying is that we're going to create facilitated environments for people to attempt to manifest opportunities for themselves and for the community. And exactly how that happens, that's the secret sauce.
That's the secret sauce.
One of the areas that is that you could stand on the base of that secret sauce is the purpose of the International Black Summit is to give participants an opportunity, to provide an opportunity for participants to bring into being their vision for the Black community in the world. So when one set a vision and we start inside of the summit, we start to work through the person's vision, and then we come out of their passion, come out of their life work, but they get to see something beyond how they've seen it before. There's a possibility that that shows up. And it allows them to use that vision as a base so that whenever challenges come up, instead of dealing with the circumstances, you can deal with your commitment, you can deal with your vision. You know, so it's a constant moment to moment experience. So that's the purpose of the summit, is to bring that vision into being. So it lives within the person fully, and they're being able and capable of bringing that in every area of their lives as they see.
You know, what strikes me in listening to you all talk is, you know, frequently people go to events, and as you described it, I think earlier, they're going for somebody else to feed them information or insights. And you're in effect saying you're coming to feed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
To folks who tend to want to sit in the background and just be observers, this is a participatory.
Yes.
And this is highly participatory. Even if you don't say a whole lot, you're there in self-actualizing for yourself, for the community, and hopefully feeling empowered coming out the backside of it.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. So I want to say two things. One is you can reach us at blacksummit.org, online at blacksummit.org. You want to find out about the annual summit event directly, that would be blacksummit.org/ASE. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, but the main ones are the website, Instagram, the website, YouTube, and Facebook. That's the first thing I want to say.
Are all of them under Black Summit?
They're all Black Summit.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you mail to them, John? If somebody wants to mail something,
So
like
Send an email. They want to send an email.
What's our email?
contact us at blacksummit.org. So if you want to reach us by email, contact us at blacksummit.org. And I wanted to give a shout out to all the people. For those of you who are on camera will see this. I'm getting texts from from facilitators around the country that are listening to the show, acknowledging our conversation, of course, offering us suggestions.
And
making
let me-
recommendations. I just wanted to say that too, just to welcome them to the conversation, and thank you for your input. That's got my phone blowing up.
So let me point out, those who are listening, I'm going to be, we've got the recorded video, and it will be on my YouTube channel, Profiles and Perspectives. It'll be up there within a day or so. I'll also my Facebook page, Profiles and Perspectives. So you'll be able to also listen to this. Let's talk a little bit about the cost. We've got about 2 minutes left. I mean, what's it going to cost to participate in the summit? Again, obviously, if you're traveling to one of those locations, but let's talk generally about, cost here for the next minute or two, so folks get a sense.
So the investment to participate in the annual summit event is broken down into categories. So we got senior adults, that's $250 for the whole weekend. That's ages 55 and up, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We got adults, that's 35 to 54, that's $300. We've got young adults. You can get all of this on our website. That's $250, that's 18 to 34, because people are grouped in different, because they're in different conversations in life. Then we got the youth, which is $100. We got some other courses you can participate in, but between $250 and $300 for adults is what it takes to invest in participating virtually and Antigua or Buffalo.
And so the summit runs kind of what kind of hours? And this, what are we talking, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 9 a.m. till completion. Typically 9, 10 o'clock. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later, depending on the energy that's in the room and what conversation we're in.
Yeah. And just to mention the youth, you didn't mention that, John. So let me say the youth is from 8 to 17.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've been having a conversation about the International Black Summit. This summit's been taking place since 1991. It's coming up just in a few, I guess, a couple of months here, August 3rd to the 6th. If you want to see it online, or you can travel to Antigua or to Buffalo, New York, blacksummit.org is how you would, in effect, get any information. I promise that this will be on the Profiles of Perspective YouTube channel in the next 24 hours. Jonn Thomas, Pedagawi, and Oren Saunders, I appreciate you all joining us this morning. I look forward to hearing more about this, I know through John. And to my audience, I hope you all have an outstanding rest of your weekend. I hope you absolutely look into this opportunity because it sounds absolutely fascinating to me. And we'll see you next week. You're listening to Profiles and Perspectives. And to all of y'all, thanks for joining us this morning.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Darren.